So I'm noticing the presence of some overwhelm and heaviness in the, let's say, 5 days ago, for the first time in my life, there was a part saying maybe it's time to chill with connecting with women because my heart is very open and I'm getting attached. Then they leave and it's hard. And as I was thinking about it, about I think an hour later, I was an inspiration to talk with someone. Long story short, again, we got very deep. And it was the first time that the demon experienced that he was very thin from the get-go. She's into numerology. Then she took my birth date, gave me her interpretation. It was 95% spot on. So almost immediately she knew how to orient herself around me. At the same time, there's a very strong pattern where women experience polarity with me. On the one side, wanting to keep getting closer, on the other side, afraid of falling in love and getting attached. So there was that. When I was at the ecstatic on Sunday, it was mainly again processing the anger of the killer part
Mhm.
and a part that misses my ex and my former best friend. So there was a lot of anger and crying. And I'm noticing that it's very hard for the system to keep the sexual energy in the body. In the past 2 weeks, I could go months without ejaculating, and now it's very hard.
Mm. And what part is that? Are you aware of that part?
Yeah,
It's not the killer, the demon. It's something else for sure.
there's a part that is, if the sexual energy is in my body more than, let's say, 4 or 5 days, the drive behind approaching gets way stronger than usual.
Mm.
And then there's the part that is overwhelmed by connecting with women again and again and again. More overwhelmed by the attachment that is
Excuse
forming.
me.
Mhm.
So I hear the part that is overwhelmed by the connection, and then potentially a part that longs to connect, right? So, I mean, is that the one that wants to use your sexual energy, that wants to connect?
The
Or is it
the part
releasing
that
on
the,
purpose?
the part that wants to connect um mainly comes out of the desire to express the truth of the moment.
Okay.
I say I think it's like 75, 70% of the issue, just to see what happens.
So just so I can be clear, you're saying it wants to connect just to see what would happen? Is that what you mean?
While I'm expressing what is uh
Okay,
honest.
right.
Was a situation when I was at a restaurant transcribing the sessions. And then I see these two women coming to the restaurant. They were very attractive. Immediately there was this inspiration. I also loved how their vibe and how they carry themselves. And then they left the restaurant. And after an hour, they came back and they sat in my eyesight. And out of nowhere, so they sit in front of me for, let's say, 10 minutes. And there's a part, probably the demon, looking at them, looking at the screen, looking at them, looking at the screen. Eventually, there was a point where it was like a very abrupt, okay, I'm gonna take it off and just approach both of them. It was a very good interaction. At the same time, again, happens this. So a child that is experiencing anxiety experiences it way stronger when it's two women rather than one girl, one woman,
Mm.
to the point where my heart rate will increase.
Does that make sense to you? Are you clear why that part is more uncomfortable with two women than one? Is it just double the chance to make a mistake, or is there more to it?
Yeah, there is that. Okay, this is the main thing. Like it's not getting rejected only by one, but by two at the same
Okay.
time.
Mhm. And the other one would know it. There's probably a piece of that too. I'm curious. But- Right? Because if it's one interaction, you're just being rejected by her. If you're being rejected by both of them, the other two now
Mhm.
know this rejection.
Yeah, especially when like 3 years ago, but I had a situation when I was walking on the beach and I saw these two girls, and there was a part that was saying, I can sense that they will have a very strong protector if you approach. And it's this place where everybody knows everybody, so the stakes are even higher. I approached, happened what that part would happen. Their protectors came up, and my system got so triggered, it started to shake.
Mm.
And then I sit with it. So yeah, when I was talking about the part that is overwhelmed, it seems like this part is looking for stability, at least for the other things it's looking for. Because here on the island, people go and stay and go and stay.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, we were talking about that, I think, last week or maybe two.
Hmm.
But yeah, about that. And it probably knows you're planning to leave as well.
Yeah, so now I told that part that going to Austin and having Rachel there is a stable connection. Also, I dreamt about the former friend.
Hmm. What was the dream about?
just us being normal as if nothing happened.
Oh,
And as I'm editing our last session, and he's mentioned, then I see him entering the restaurant
in the dream or when you were editing?
when I was editing.
Okay.
So at the moment of noticing this overwhelm and a part of just wants to let the firefighters take over. Yeah, maybe talk with overwhelm.
Okay. So the part that's overwhelmed, are you ready to connect? Are you here?
Yes.
You were overwhelmed when you were in the restaurant? What was overwhelming about it? Could you elaborate a bit on that?
There was this girl that I got deep with this week, and she started to have a polarity, afraid of getting too attached to me.
Hmm.
And we talked about it last night over the phone, and now I saw her at the restaurant. And it hurts.
Yeah, tell me about the hurt. It hurts to be overwhelmed or it hurts to not be connected to her?
It hurts getting attached, and then
Yeah.
the people leave either physically or emotionally.
Mhm. Yeah. So what's your preference in that? I'm curious, and you may not have an answer to this. That's okay, but would you rather never connect at all or to connect and risk hurting?
A few months ago, um, I'm part of this girl, and she looks very good, and her femininity, divine. So I saw her recently at the gym a few times. I didn't approach, and then today, some part took over, and I said hi again,
Hmm.
and we hugged. And when I hugged her, it felt so good in a way that I almost cried.
Hmm.
And I know she said she's going to leave in about 2.5 weeks, and we scheduled probably to meet on Wednesday. And on the one hand, it scares me.
Yeah, what's scary? What's scary about that?
I felt so good just hugging her, and it seems she felt the same.
Hmm.
So having like connecting with her and then have it gone again. The one side it's scary. On the other hand, I'm going through this process of surrender. Every time I'm going through these connections, like my heart is expanding more and more and more.
And is that what's scary? Scary to expand?
The expansion is hurting,
Oh, okay.
and it feels it hurting and it feels good at the same time.
Maybe stay with the expansion, stay with that hurting, and maybe you can understand a bit more about what makes it hurt.
As you said that my ex came up in my head, and I miss her a lot.
Okay. This expansion, and again, I don't know, this is this expansion about connecting and losing what you've connected with.
I'm noticing a pattern that with my ex, I had certain child parts that came up in a certain way only after some time of knowing one another. And for example, with this Israeli girl this week, we spent like 3 nights together. And on the third night, there was this child part that was about to make a certain kind of a sound that came up only with my ex. And it was about to go out with her, and then another part blocked it from coming out, as if it was going too fast for some part. Actually, it's interesting. Why did that part block the child?
Yeah, yeah. Worthwhile question to ask for sure.
Part is saying that certain parts are reserved only for her, certain behaviors and sounds.
Okay.
Now I see a vision of how we kind of danced in the shower together, me and my ex. And then
What do you
the
notice?
former best friend came up also.
What were you noticing about the shower? There may be something there for you. And then we'll go from there to your former friend.
In the shower, it was kind of a moment where the child really came out. And I saw the excitement on her face. And her child also came out and it jumped and then together. There's a part really misses her tiny body and some other part misses sexually pleasuring her.
Mhm. I guess there's a part of me that's also curious, and we can get there eventually, but I don't want to forget this, why your friend came up right after that awareness of your girlfriend in the shower. Do you have a sense of that? And if not, you can just ask.
It's a part that misses my former connections.
Okay. Okay.
So they kind of in a similar layer, let's say. Interesting that when I'm seeing the good times now, the part that tried to show the negative times then come up like it did last time.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm hearing a child part saying, looking at both of them, that he thought that it would be forever in connection.
Are you and any other protector, so I'm sort of speaking this first to you and then generally to other protectors, open to giving some space for us to connect with that child part?
Sure.
Great. Is there anything else you want to share before you give some room?
Yeah.
Okay. And so is the young part here, the boy?
Mhm.
Okay. It's nice to meet you.
Likewise.
And you had hoped or expected or assumed, I don't know which, that these relationships would last forever.
Hmm.
And when you found out that they weren't or aren't, what was that like for you? What happened?
My whole world collapsed and still collapsing.
I'm sorry.
I mean, with him, we were basically platonically married.
It's hard to lose that for sure.
Yes. And with her, She saw me more than anyone. And she has very, very deep love and care for me.
Mhm.
After losing the connection with them, it's as if everything turns gray. There's no color to life.
That sounds really sad.
I really wanted to send her 2 songs yesterday. And there is still the killer part is not sure to allow it or not.
Mhm. I'm curious why it's wondering about that. Or should we just stay with you, which is fine too.
With me, it doesn't make sense that we're not in contact at all.
Mhm. Yeah.
It's like a part in me was ripped out of my heart.
Mhm. What would you like in support of that or to help with that? Is there something that would help with that?
I was thinking about how I think it was yesterday or 2 days ago when I was walking on the beach. I approached this girl, and then after about 30 seconds, she asked me, I think I know you. Okay. Then she asked me, are you the ex of that girl? I said, yes. And then she said, oh, so I think it's better for us not to connect.
Mm.
And I said, okay. I did this kind of a namaste gesture. She smiled and I left.
Must have been hard for you.
I wonder how I would have reacted if I saw her physically here.
Well, you can imagine it if you'd like. If that would be helpful, you can imagine her being there.
Let's say I was walking here, and then she was walking in front of me. I would look her in the eyes as I'm walking and will not let go of the eye contact. Now I imagined me sitting here at the beach and she looks at me and out of nowhere, like walking towards me, out of nowhere, just kind of jumps on me and hugs me without asking even. We probably have a heart attack.
Be shocking, huh?
For some reason, the killer isn't interfering with that.
Do you want to ask him why or just go with it? It's up to you.
So just go with it.
Okay, great.
And then I imagine my daddy part coming up, wrapping her as she starts to cry, saying how torturous it has been to be disconnected
Hmm.
like this.
Yeah. So there's the possibility of releasing the pain, but not the relationship or not the connection, not missing her, but the deep pain of this, that isn't required to be held if it's something you want to consider letting go of or
Yeah,
transforming it.
I know what you're talking about. I had this 6 years ago with some other
Okay.
girl that had the pain. We reached an exile, the pain was gone. At the same time now, I don't have access to the exile, but it's bringing out the
Well,
pain.
what about this boy? What about this boy? What if he's carrying pain? If that's who I'm talking to, I can ask you, are you holding pain about this loss of relationship? You
Yes.
were expecting it always to be. What what would you like to transform, or what are you holding?
I guess I'm experiencing loneliness and powerlessness towards the fact that we're disconnected.
Do you feel like Neo and his system understand this powerlessness that you're holding? Do you want them to know anything else about it?
I was thinking about how what could make it make the pain go away, and I imagined us hugging and cuddling, and then it switched to pleasuring her. Very interesting because we had times that even though we're going through some argument, rupture, sometimes as if the sexuality was on another box, was distinguished in some way. We can experience a conflict,
Mhm.
let's say we're in bed, and out of nowhere, the demon will come up and does his thing.
Mhm. He hasn't been today. It seems like he's willing to give you space today, which is different.
There's something about touching her private parts felt different.
Yeah, what was different about it?
Okay. It's as if me touching her and making her come kind of fills me with energy.
Hmm. I imagine that energy is good. You like that.
It creates this kind of bond.
Hmm.
Let's say we have a conflict, and sometimes there is the inspiration to pleasure her. And in these moments, there is a sense of connection, relief, and me receiving pleasure from her pleasure.
Hmm.
I would really want to talk with her.
You said you really want to.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, again, I'll remind you, you can bring her into your field right now and talk to her. You know, it's not exactly the same, but for many parts it helps.
Like we did last session with the friend.
Yeah, it's well, you're welcome to. Could see if it helps, give it a try.
So as I imagine starting a video call with her, immediately the titles come up, checking to see if she still paints me in black, which she will. Or spiritually bypass that. Then immediately comes the desire to end the call.
Okay. Let's see if we can ask the part, and I can ask it, but why do you need to end the call?
Because it's dangerous territory.
But I'm gonna ask if you know that it's imaginary, that it's happening inside. It's safer inside than outside for sure. It still could be dangerous. I do get that.
For some reason, in order for this process to work, I need to imagine a different reality, like we did last time. And the way that potatoes came up, it's very similar to what happened when we initially broke up. And we took her a place for a week to understand what she wants regarding us and in general. And after she came back, right as she came back to the place where we lived together, immediately potatoes came up. We're checking to see if she's still in the same spot. And she pretty much was. So immediately the part said, well, then that means we are breaking up. It's the same pattern.
Mhm. And so there's a part obviously here that wants to protect you from that pain again. And maybe you could invite it to see you, invite it to see that you're here and that you've done a good bit of work since then. You've handled some of these difficult situations, and especially you might invite it to notice and recall what you did last week. That might be helpful to this part.
Okay, so we can again imagine different spiritual potentials.
Yeah. And if any part is bothered, I hope it will let you or me know. We can address that.
Mm.
It's just everything's a choice.
Okay, so the first situation that comes up is that she texts me if we can talk. I say, talk about what? When she says, I would love to talk about the rupture we had and our connection. Then I say, okay. So we have a video chat. And as we start the video chat, it splits to two potential, a more negative one and a more positive one.
Hmm.
So in the negative one, I can see her the same part that I saw in the ecstatic, the kind of spiritual, I'm above this, all of this kind of pain and kind of bypassing. And as I see it, immediately impatience comes up. And then I ask her, okay, so what do you want to talk about with this kind of impatience? And then she says, okay, for some reason I need to go to the other potential.
Okay. And what are you hearing there?
I pick up the call and then we just look at each other, not saying anything, and I can see her starting to cry. And then immediately my protectors soften,
Hmm.
saying, okay, that's interesting. Because when I saw her, the static, she was in this spiritual part and she didn't cry at all while I was sobbing my heart out.
Must have been hard for your parts.
Yeah. So she's crying and crying and crying, and I'm just being present with that. And she says that she doesn't know even where to start and that she's very sorry and she loves me. And this brings up more of my self energy.
Hmm. And I'm still being quiet, allowing what needs to come up within her. Now I need to go to the other potential, the negative The other
one.
side. Okay.
Mhm. There she says how she realizes that what happened was not about me and not about her. It was just our human part going to the deepest trauma that they needed to go in order to grow. Very similar to what she said when she texted me for the first time after she blocked me. And as I'm seeing that, I sense the impatience. And now it breaks into another two options. The more, again, the killer part or the Smith part, a more evolved version and
Mhm.
a less, and maybe just not, just a more triggered version.
Mhm.
So the triggered version, it will be Smith. And what he would do is to just ask her question after question after question to expose the bypass.
Mhm.
And the upgraded version is a more kind of accepting what it is and the glass ceiling that is being presented and not trying to change it or fight it.
Yeah. So what I'm noticing, and I just would like to share with your system that when these upgrades happen, they happen when there's more self energy available.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I can see that there is a very strong difference with the levels of self in the upgraded version and the triggered version. With the triggered version, there's an attachment to an outcome for her to understand and see something.
Hmm.
With the upgraded version, there is more, there's less attachment and thus more acceptance to what is.
Hmm. It's more presence.
Yes. So with the upgraded version, that's all she said, and then say, yeah, I understand, okay, I understand. And then she asked me, how did it make me feel, what she said. And then I say that it makes me sad, and there is a part that is disappointed.
What's its disappointment?
First, with the sadness would be because of and it's also disappointment about the loss of our connection.
Yeah.
And from what I can see, then I ask her, would you like for me to tell you what I'm seeing is happening in your system? And then she says yes. And then I say,
Mm.
well, from what I see, there is this self-like part that is bypassing a sense of guilt and shame and worthlessness from actions that you took that came out of a very deep pain and trauma. At the same time, there's, from what I see, there's still a bypass. And even though there are parts that really want to connect with you, it doesn't feel safe to do so because, from my protector's perspective, they need to see more of an emotional connection to the pain and thus emotionally taking responsibility, like happened all our ruptures before.
Yeah. And I'm curious how she responds to that.
Because she sees that I'm not trying to force anything. She's surprised. And then it gets blurry.
Okay. Maybe stay with the blurriness for a moment. See what that might be.
A positive outcome would be I understand what you're saying. I will try and work with that self-like part. Can we still keep in touch? Then I say that it can be only professional until I can see that there is a full process of repair happening by her taking responsibility. And that now there's a part that is seeing the difference. Wow, crazy progress. How before the rupture with everyone. In that kind of moment, instead of putting this hard boundary, my system would just go into helping them understand and see and ask them questions and put a lot of resources for them to understand themselves.
Hmm. It sounds like a lot of work.
It was exhausting. And now it's not going to happen again. Then she says, okay, I understand. And I respect you for maintaining your boundaries. And then I thank her, and I also show her the child in me that is crying right now, wishing we would still be in connection at the same time. It would just be another loop.
And what's the loop?
Putting resources in a connection where other parts, maintaining this connection in the current circumstance would make certain parts in me feel betrayed
Okay.
because they're hurting and their hurt is not being attended to as they
Okay.
need.
Well, that's useful information for your system.
Mm-hmm.
You know, parts that need attended to.
I think in the last session we had, I was saying about how looking back from my current perspective, I know when I should have broken up. And it was a situation where she lied to me about something. Of course, it wasn't obvious in the beginning, but the Smith part smelled something is off. So we started to
Hmm.
investigate and then understood she was lying to me.
Hmm.
And after that was exposed, as long as Smith was present, our conflict will be stuck because she has parts that are triggered by Smith.
Okay.
So there was a moment where I became aware of this pattern. So then I told Smith what is happening and he could see it. But then I told him that in order for this conflict to potentially be resolved, he needs to take a step back. So he took a step back, and I am opening space for her to understand herself from a self-led place while Smith is literally crying.
Mm.
I had tears coming down while I did that process with her.
And what I'm most curious about is that how are you responding to this? How is your system responding to this emotion? Is it okay?
What emotion?
Oh, they're crying. That Smith is crying.
I was talking about back then. It's not crying now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So the story that I told you about her lying to me, it happened when we were together.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So that was, this is something that will not repeat. And this is the difference that I see now with the simulation that we're doing. So this is the loop that is broken within my own system.
Yeah. Yeah. It gets to have it in a different way. It's always a choice. And for many parts, not all, but for many parts, this imagined experience is just as good.
Mhm.
Not all parts, but for many.
Yeah, so let's go back to that potential where I told her we can keep it only
Professional.
professional.
Hmm. Yeah. And how
And
does your system
then
feel
she said
about that?
that she understands and respects my boundary.
Hmm. Do your parts respect this? Does this feel right for it? I assume it does, but maybe a good idea to check. Are all parts in agreement on keeping the relationship professional?
Yeah. Professional is easy.
Good.
So now there's a system update about the upgraded version. And I can tell it brings up some self energy. And I'm hearing the killer part saying, finally.
Mm. And do you know what all of that means? Do you know what the killer part means by finally? If not, I invite you to ask.
It says, finally, the loop is broken.
Ah, okay. Great. Sounds like it's been waiting for this.
And then I ask, how would he define the loop? And then he says, prioritizing a connection with another person, even though it causes inner abandonment and betrayal.
And so notice that abandonment and betrayal, and maybe invite this part to show you or tell you a little bit more about that.
there is the pattern where some part will blur certain behaviors of other people in order to maintain connection. And then this blur, on the other side of the blur, there are parts that are hurt, and their hurt is not being attended to, and thus they feel betrayed and abandoned.
Mhm. So are they willing, are they open to share with you their hurt so they don't have to feel so abandoned?
There is a part saying that after she lied to me, this is when the breakup should have happened.
Hmm.
In hindsight, of course, everything happens as it should, so other parts could blah 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 blah. But
Yeah. Yeah. But that's what this part would have wanted.
yes,
Yeah. That's understandable. It doesn't want you to be hurt.
also he doesn't want to be hurt and disrespected.
Right. Right.
So I'm noticing there is more self, more presence. So I'm going back to that potential. Where she says, when there was the positive one, where she said she respects the boundary, but also you can keep it professional.
Mm.
And then she says, okay, I will continue doing my inner work. And I thank you for your time and I love you. And I will give you an update at some point. Then I say that I love you too. And update me whenever you experience progress. And we hang up.
Great. So thank your parts for doing this. Some were a bit skeptical. And before you come fully back, or move from this place of connection with her, there could be some parts that want updated about what happened. Just stay with it and see if there are any parts that need connection or clarity with all of that.
For some reason, I feel my third eye tingling. And I'm hearing the killer part saying, holy fucking shit,
Mhm.
in a good way, where it's about fucking time. And it might be the killer part blending because I'm noticing that this thing is shifting from the heaviness to being more live again.
Mm-hmm.
Now there's a child asking the killer part. Let's say in the simulation when I'm at the beach and she just comes and hugs me without even asking, would that be okay to hug her back and kiss her? Like how far can it go?
And what do you hear your system saying?
There is not a decisive course of action because on the one side, having this type of dynamic can bring more to the surface certain parts in their pain, so that could be worked on, so that would be positive. On the other side, there needs again to be some kind of a limit and boundaries around that imaginary scenario. So from the killer's perspective, because the child is carving for that type of connection with her, he leans towards giving it to the child this one time, if it happens, and then putting a bungee around that. It's interesting because things get blurry again.
Okay.
This distortion of reality.
It may be worth just noticing the blur. So it may be a part in and of itself. You might check, you might ask.
So one of the reasons why the killer is putting the boundary is because uh, after we broke up, there were situations where she was blended with her parts, pursuing physical and sexual connection with me.
Hmm.
And then another part will come up and blame me that I acted out of her best interest. So the killer is very wary of that again. And saying he would probably allow this one time, and then after this one time, there will be the same conversation as we had in the simulation before. So he says the rule would be, let's say this happens at the beach, then not again for at least a few months.
Hmm. Yeah. And you just check in and notice parts maybe not so much ones that you've connected with, of course, those, but maybe any parts that are unseen as of yet that might be holding hurts or desires to connect with you. You know, there were lots of parts that there were parts that we're discussing that wanted to meet with you.
I mainly sense the presence of the killer part.
Okay,
The heaviness reduced by like 90%.
that's great.
And it seems that the child, even though he's hurting and in agony because he wants to connect with her, also understands what the right thing to do.
Yeah. So this may be a good place to pause with checking in with them and let them know you'll come back. It seems like there's more work or more connection, let's put it that way, more connection that they would like to have with you. Just let them know that you'll be visiting with them.
For some reason, I'm noticing that there's this girl here that we had a connection and she wanted to meet up and I had resistance. And now noticing the resistance is shifting.
Mhm. It might be worth eventually, checking in on that. Yeah, the killer might be more open now than it was.
Yeah, we'll see about that. Okay. So seems like a great place to end our session.
Yeah, great. Well, thanks again, as always, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you very much.
Yep, you're welcome. All right, bye-bye.